If you like storytime vibes, hit subscribe and let's dive in together.
They say the seventh year is when the walls crack. They were right. I didn't see the crack though. I saw the explosion. My wife, the woman I promised forever to, didn't just break our vows, she shattered them, live, on stage, in front of 10,000 screaming fans. And everyone cheered. Everyone but me. The applause for her public betrayal was the sound of my world ending. 7. It's supposed to be a lucky number, isn't it? For 7 years, Olivia and I had what people called the perfect life. Not the glossy, filtered perfection you see on social media, but a quiet, deeply rooted happiness. We built a home from scratch, survived job changes, shared endless inside jokes, and knew each other's coffee order and darkest fears without a second thought. 7 years of waking up next to her, 7 years of Friday night takeout, 7 years of absolute, uncomplicated us. It was our seventh wedding anniversary. I remember the date like a religious holiday, October 27th, and this year I wanted to go big. Olivia has always been obsessed with the rock band, the Sirens of Fury, specifically their lead singer, a man named Jax. She had posters of him in her college dorm. She still air drummed to their songs while making dinner. I found out they were doing a sold-out, limited seating arena tour. It took me 3 months, calling in every favor I had, and spending a small fortune. But I got them. 2 VIP tickets, front row, for the anniversary concert. Her face when I handed her the envelope, that was my reward. Pure, unadulterated joy. A joy that reflected back on me and made me feel like the best husband in the world. We got ready together. She looked incredible, of course. A simple black dress, her hair down, just a hint of that perfume I bought her in Paris 5 years ago. I remember tying my tie, looking at her reflection in the mirror, and feeling that familiar, deep warmth in my chest. This is my life, I thought. This is my person. I leaned over, kissed her neck, and whispered, "Happy anniversary, Liv. Tonight's for you." But as we were walking out the door, she grabbed my hand, squeezing it too tightly. Her eyes weren't looking at me. They were already looking past me, towards the night, towards the music. She said, "Ethan, this is the most incredible thing you've ever done. Seriously. I love you so much." But the way she said it felt like she was signing off, not affirming. It was a thank you that closed a chapter, not the opening of a new one. I dismissed it. Nerves, maybe. The excitement of seeing her idol. The concert venue was electric. We were right at the barrier. Olivia was singing every word, her energy almost violent. I loved watching her. It was a privilege to see her so unguarded, so completely free. Jax, the lead singer, was a force, charismatic, magnetic, moving like he owned the entire city. I could feel Olivia lean forward every time he approached our side of the stage. Her devotion was palpable, but it was just fandom, right? Just a crush on an unattainable rock god. I kept telling myself that. I kept cheering for her, cheering with her, secure in the knowledge that when the lights came up, she would turn to me, put her arm in mine, and we would go home, together, back to our 7 years of us. But then the final encore began. The final song. It was their biggest hit, Broken Trust. The irony of the title is something that will haunt me forever. The lights were low, just a single blinding spotlight on Jax. He was leaning into the crowd, hands reaching out like a messiah. Olivia was screaming the lyrics, tears streaming down her face. She looked ecstatic, completely consumed. I remember thinking, she's never looked at me with that intensity. A bitter, fleeting thought, quickly swallowed by the music. Then everything slowed down. Jax pointed directly at our section. He gave a signal to the security guard near us. Before I could even register what was happening, Olivia didn't hesitate. She didn't look back at me. She didn't say a word. She just scaled the barrier. An impossible feat in that dress. And the security guy, instead of stopping her, just gave her a boost. She was up on the stage, bathed in that white, unforgiving light. My heart didn't stop. It started hammering. a primal, suffocating fear. I thought she was going to talk to him, maybe grab his hand. A fan moment. I tried to smile, tried to look like the supportive husband. I raised my phone ready to capture her big moment, but she wasn't there for a handshake. Jack stopped singing. The music faded, leaving only a low, thrumming bass. He looked at her, and she looked at him, and for a long, agonizing beat, they were the only two people in the world. 10,000 people held their breath. Then, Olivia did it. She reached up, grabbed the front of his leather jacket, pulled his face down to hers, and kissed him. It wasn't a quick peck. It wasn't an accidental brush. It was a long, deep, possessive embrace. A kiss stolen from a black and white movie, dramatic and hungry. Her hands were tangled in his hair. His mic dropped with a dull thud. For 5, 6, 7 endless seconds, they were locked together. The crowd went wild. A collective, deafening roar. People were cheering, whistling, flashing their lights. They thought it was part of the show, a spontaneous, romantic gesture. But for me, standing 3 feet away, the spotlight felt like it was pointed right into my soul. I lowered my phone. My hands were shaking so violently, I almost dropped it. The camera was still running. I have the video. The silent, damning proof. Proof of the moment my wife chose a man she'd never met. A fantasy over the 7 years we built together. My knees felt like water. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. I just watched my wife pour every ounce of passion she had into another man's mouth, and I was the one who bought the ticket. When they finally broke apart, Olivia was flushed. She was glowing. She looked satisfied, triumphant. She didn't even glance down to where I was standing, a ghost in the front row. Jax, the professional, grabbed his mic, smirked at the audience, and said, "Now that's a fan." The music crashed back in, louder than ever. She was escorted off the stage, radiant and oblivious, back into the anonymity of the crowd. Getting out of that arena was the longest walk of my life. Olivia was walking ahead, buoyant, still high on adrenaline. She was talking excitedly about the energy, about Jax, about the moment. Did you see his face, Ethan? It was like the universe wanted it to happen. Her voice was too loud, too bright, cutting through the murmuring crowd. I just nodded, a mechanical, wooden gesture. I couldn't trust my voice not to shatter. We reached the car. The familiar leather seats, the faint scent of the air freshener we both liked. It was supposed to be our safe space, our bubble. Tonight, it felt like a steel cage. I drove. She talked. She spent the first 15 minutes reliving every detail of the stage rush, the crowd's reaction, the feel of his jacket. She was still describing his eyes when I pulled into our driveway, killed the engine, and the heavy, unforgiving silence of our quiet suburban street fell like a shroud. The moment she reached for the door handle, I finally spoke. My voice was low, a dry, rasping sound. "You didn't look at me, Liv." She froze. Her hand stopped midway to the latch. The air instantly thickened. The silence went from heavy to lethal. "What?" she finally whispered, turning to face me. The high had left her eyes, replaced by a flicker of defensiveness. "On stage," I repeated, my gaze locked on the pristine diamond ring on her finger. The ring I put there 7 years ago. "When you kissed him, when you got off the stage, you never looked down. You didn't acknowledge the man who spent a fortune and called in every single favor he had to give you that moment. You just vanished into the crowd." She scoffed, a quick, dismissive sound that was like a knife twist. "Ethan, don't be ridiculous. It was a rock concert. It was spontaneous. It was a fantasy moment, not reality." I leaned in, my heart a lump of ice. "Reality is sitting right here, Liv. Reality is the diamond on your hand. Reality is the house we own. Reality is the 7 years you threw into the wind for a 6-second kiss with a stranger. It wasn't spontaneous. You went up there, you knew exactly what you were doing. And you did it in front of 10,000 people. and the one person who loves you enough to buy you the world. Her face went pale. The defensiveness crumbled into a look I hadn't seen before. Shame, but laced with a resentment. The ultimate insult. She wasn't sorry for what she did. She was angry that I had called her out on it. She looked at me then, truly looked at me, and I saw a stranger. Not my wife, just a woman whose perception of her own life was clearly far bigger than the man sitting beside her. It was, in that moment, in the oppressive silence of our driveway, that the marriage officially died. We walked into the house, and it was like walking into a mausoleum. The atmosphere was thick with unspoken words, but I knew exactly what needed to be said. Olivia went straight to the kitchen, poured herself a glass of water with a shaky hand, and finally broke the silence with a pathetic defense. "You're blowing this way out of proportion, Ethan. It was just an impulsive, crazy thing. Every girl has a fantasy. It was just a stupid kiss with a celebrity. Does it really erase 7 years of happiness? Are you that petty?" Petty. The word hit me harder than the sight of the kiss itself. "No, Liv," I said, leaning against the door frame, watching her closely. "I'm not petty. I'm a man who respects himself. A marriage is built on trust, respect, and the fundamental promise that we are each other's priority, especially in public. What you did wasn't a stupid kiss. It was a public declaration that my presence, my feelings, and our entire relationship were meaningless to you in that moment of self-gratification." I walked over to the dining table, where a silver picture frame still held our wedding photo. 2 ridiculously happy kids smiling into a bright future. I picked it up, my thumb tracing her face. "You didn't just break my trust. You humiliated me. In front of thousands of strangers. In front of the security guards who watched me pay for those tickets. You stomped on my dignity, and then you expected me to laugh it off as impulsive. Do you understand what that does to a man? It fundamentally challenges his entire standing as a husband, as a man." She finally looked defeated, the water glass still halfway to her lips. She put it down hard. "So, what do you want me to do, Ethan? Beg? I'm sorry I embarrassed you, okay?" I let the moment get away from me. I shook my head slowly, the certainty in my heart crystallizing into painful, cold logic. "It's not enough, Liv. Embarrassment is when I spill coffee on my shirt. What you did was an act of public abandonment, and it tells me everything I need to know about the integrity of the private life we share. I can't look at you without seeing you in that spotlight, wrapped around another man, hearing the applause for my personal destruction." I placed the wedding photo gently back on the table. "I want a divorce, Olivia." The sound of the word hung in the air, heavy and final. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just looked at me, a flicker of fear finally eclipsing the resentment. She knew, deep down, that her fantasy had just cost her her reality. I wasn't being petty. I was saving the only thing she hadn't managed to destroy yet, my self-respect. And for a man who bought his wife the world only to be publicly discarded, that was the only thing I had left to fight for. The days and weeks that followed were a cold, transactional blur. Lawyers, papers, division of assets. Olivia tried to backtrack. There were tears, desperate phone calls, the plea that I was ruining her life over a silly mistake. But the emotional armor I put on that night never cracked. She had made her choice under the brightest lights, and she had to live with the spotlight's aftermath. The final court date came 6 months later. It was brief, clean, and silent. She left the courtroom looking tired, defeated, finally stripped of her rock and roll glow. I walked out alone, feeling strangely light, a burden lifted, but also deeply scarred. The real final curtain call came a year after the divorce. I had moved across the country, started a new life, and rarely thought about the band, Jax, or Olivia. Then, one day, a package arrived. It was an anonymous tip from my old lawyer, marked filing error. Inside was a simple non-disclosure agreement. NDA, relating to Jax, the rock singer. My lawyer had flagged it because Olivia's signature was on the witness line, and the document itself detailed a settlement payout to an anonymous party for a personal security breach related to a concert in October, our anniversary concert. I did some digging, not through my ex-wife, but through public record. Turns out Jax was clean cut, a corporation. The spontaneous fan moments, they were all staged. The band's management would scout beautiful women in the front row, confirm their relationship status, and offer them a small paid part in the show for PR buzz, a spontaneous kiss to boost their image. Olivia wasn't spontaneous. She wasn't a girl lost in the moment. She was a paid extra, a pawn in a publicity stunt. She had knowingly taken money, not for a kiss, but for an act designed to publicly disrespect her husband. On the very night he celebrated their love, the shame was overwhelming, but the clarity was immediate. That was my moment of pure, righteous relief. I wasn't the petty husband who couldn't handle an impulsive crush. I was the man who refused to tolerate an act of calculated, mercenary betrayal. The money she got was negligible. The marriage she lost was everything. I never told her I knew. I just kept the NDA copy, framed it, and hung it in my new home office, a small, private monument to the price of integrity. Some people called me judgmental for leaving her, but I choose to believe this. Dignity is not negotiable. When your partner is willing to sell your collective respect for 6 seconds of manufactured fame and a few $100s, they don't value the love you built. They value the spotlight. And the spotlight always fades. She got her fantasy. I got my life back. And now she's just another name on a settlement document, a footnote in a rock star's PR history, while I'm out here building something real again. That's the real happy ending.